Welcome to How Preschool Teachers Do It.
This is Alison Kentos. I am an early childhood educator.
And this is Cindy Tarabush. I am an early childhood consultant.
This podcast is for parents and early childhood professionals.
Let our experience and research-based knowledge become your guide.
Hello, preschool peeps.
Hi, peeps.
Happy Monday.
That's right. Another week.
Okay. Allison said that's right, another week. Like she's not so enthusiastic, maybe. I think your voice didn't match your face. I think that's the problem. Everybody go over to YouTube. Check out if you see Allison's voice matched her face. All right, but that wasn't a serious dance. Listen, and also while you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. That gets us more benefits, the more people who subscribe.
Yeah.
In other news, welcome. We are happy to welcome another Monday, and we're happy to welcome people in Panama who are listening to us.
Ooh,
and
Panama.
And in Brentwood, New York, which I understand is a hamlet in Long Island. And a hamlet is a fairly small place, and yet you're the number one listeners this week from New York. So, okay. You were tops of our charts. New York was number one, and within New York, Brentwood was number one. So, hello, Long Island.
Hello.
I have family on Long Island, so hi there. Hi, everybody. It's not them. They have nothing to do with early learners. If it is them, if it is my cousins who live on Long Island, then hey, thanks for listening.
Hi.
But I doubt it. Okay, so we're here today to talk, as the title says, about interesting children. I heard a quote as I was sitting and watching Netflix. I was watching Wednesday, the series Wednesday, and there was this really great quote, and it struck me. You know how sometimes people will say things and it hits you like a thunderbolt? It struck me. I sent the quote to Allison, who wrote it down, and she's the one who's got the quote. So I don't have it. She has to read it to you. So go ahead, Allison, read the quote from Wednesday.
The most interesting plants grow in the shade.
Oh, so profound.
Right?
Especially when you think about young children, the most interesting plants grow in the shade. Those quiet children, the children who sit back are more cautious, the ones who maybe you can't convince to participate in everything. They just want to be on their own and they want to do their own thing. And we let them do that because they are quiet and usually pretty well behaved. And so, unless it upsets us that they're not joining the crowd, which really we should just let them be who they are. Yeah. And let them know we can help them join the crowd if they would like, but they don't have to. Those children who are the quiet ones, the ones who, when you say to a teacher, quick, list the name of everybody in your class, that's the one they forget.
Boom.
Right?
You go through all of them and you're like, wait, who am I forgetting? Oh, it's because he's so quiet.
Yes. It's because this child is so quiet. Those can be the most interesting children. It also reminds me, that whole concept of the shade, of growing up in the shade, reminds me of maybe siblings who are outshined by the achievements of another sibling. Yes. I don't know if outshine's a word. We always do this. I don't know if this is a word thing.
The word overshadowed, right. Maybe
overshadowed. Thank you.
A shade, shadow, yeah.
Shadowed, yes. Overshadowed by the achievements or the big personality of a sibling. These are the children who kind of live in the shade, and they can be brilliant and they can be fascinating and funny and all the things, but so many adults don't notice. Allison and I wanted to talk today about how to interact with these children and figure out what is magical about them, because there's something just magical about every child.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Whether it's a talent, an inborn talent, or some ability or thing they learned or something. There's just some little piece in childhood, some little piece of magic about you. So, it's our duty to find that little piece of magic about everybody. And the most interesting children live in that shade. So What do you think, Allison? You've worked with children like this. When we were talking about this quote, you said, "Oh, I can think of children."
I have a boy in my current class who I think fits into this category. He's very, very quiet. Like when he comes up to talk to me, it's very like low voice, like almost for me, I think he has a little bit of anxiety and he's afraid, but like still like very quiet, very much just plays with himself, doesn't really bother anybody, never has any conflicts or anything like that. But I was a little worried about him because I was like, oh, I want him to learn how to interact with students. So like, but he's not comfortable doing that with other children. So I kind of just sit next to him and play. Like I'll just play the same thing. If he wants to play blocks, I'll be in the block area and I'll be next to him building my own thing. And then I might say to him, hey, look at my tower. I built Walmart, like I'm building a Walmart. What are you building? Just to get him to kind of feel like he has somebody he can talk to if he wants to. And then I noticed like he started feeling more comfortable talking with me, and so I kind of try to be the bridge in between. But what I've noticed is since I've been sitting next to him playing with him, he's the kindest child. He's so kind. He's always like when he does talk to me, he'll always, if somebody's crying, he's like, are they okay? Like he won't go up to the child and ask them, are you okay? But he goes to me, like he's so kind. And I wouldn't know that about him if I didn't take the time to just be with him, and just be next
Intentionally.
to him, just be around him, and I wouldn't know that about him. I would just like, hey, he's a quiet kid and move on. But he's got like this, and almost like a little bit of charm to him too, where he's very, he is a magical kid, but nobody really knows it because he's just so quiet and to himself. So I feel like if we can just be there, like even next to him, I don't force him to interact. I try, like I encourage it, and he'll repeat stuff that I say to the other students, but like I don't force him. I just let him be who he is. And that's who he is, And I think he appreciates
I'm reminded
now he talks to me more. Like I feel like I'm maybe his safe person, like, and that's okay. He needs that, he shouldn't.
It's very important.
He's quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important. And that sitting and playing next to them does allow you to get to know their thinking process a little bit. Yes. If we sit there and we just play and observe what they're doing, I'm reminded of a young girl who used to be in a class that I taught years ago, so many years ago. And she was one of those children kind of growing up in the shade. She did have very dominant siblings. She had multiple siblings who were these huge personalities, and it was sort of like, it felt like everyone in the community knew them and got a kick out of them. And, then there was her, and she wasn't that big of a personality. She was very, very quiet in the class. And I remember going over and she was using it was Play-Doh. She was using Play-Doh, and I went over, and I love Play-Doh, so that was cool by me. And I started to use the Play-Doh, and I just would like look at her and say things like, I really like the Play-Doh balls that you're making. Look how round they are. You're doing great work making those Play-Doh balls. If you say affirming things, she used to just smile, by the way. She used to just smile at me when I said that stuff. If you say affirming things, then the child who's quieter and doesn't get all the attention feels seen. And that's very important. She might never fully open up to you. She might never become the child who talks and talks and talks with you. It may not be that she develops that with you, but she felt seen. She looked at me and she smiled at me every time I said something like, wow, look at what you're doing with the Legos. You made a pattern. That's terrific. I see it going like blue, white, blue, white. Yeah. And she would just smile because all she needed to know was that I see you. I see you. I see what you're doing. I see what you're capable of doing. And again, that's sometimes all they need. They don't, kind of like you said, Allison, you don't have to push them in. No. Just let them feel like they belong and you see them.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you might never hear from that student how what you're doing does for them, but I feel like they feel it. And when they feel it, I feel like I feel it. You know what I mean? Like if I get a smile from that little boy, I'm like, oh man, I did my job today. You know what I mean? Like, because I want him to
100%.
feel that he has me that he could talk to, and I want him to feel like he's important and I believe in him no matter what, you know? So like,
Right.
but I think he'll take that feeling with him, hopefully throughout his life, maybe 20 years from now, he'd be like, I had this teacher named Miss Allison who just let me be me. She didn't make me be somebody I was, you know, and she just believed in who I was. And I will never know if he ever says that, but you know, it doesn't,
you know what? If you help children to feel like they are valued and they belong, then you've done your job, and they will carry that with them, whether they express it or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think that those children who we just kind of are near and learn about just from being in proximity to them, I think that they appreciate it. And I think that you're right. We're allowing them to be themselves. We are opening up the door should they want to walk through it.
Yes.
They are not necessarily miserable or unhappy or anxious or feeling like they're not part. Like it's not that. And we sometimes interpret it as, wow, this quiet child, I don't know what to do with this quiet child. You know, I hope this child isn't unhappy.
I think it goes back to like this introvert extrovert kind of thing. Like I'm not an extroverted person. Like I go to work and I do my thing and I come home and I'm by myself and I like it. And everybody's like, she must be so unhappy because she's alone or because she doesn't go out. No, but don't try to change me. And I think it's the same with these children who are the quieter ones of like, everybody's like, oh, look how unhappy he is, or he doesn't have any friends. No, like he could be perfectly fine the way he is. Why are you forcing him to become somebody he's not, simply to fit into the mold of what you think childhood should be? Right?
Right. Because there is no one way to be child.
Yeah, there's no one way. And I think people think like, oh, they should be out and they should be playing and they should be loud and they should be. No, that's who he is. That's who the little girl is that you had. That's who they are. And that's okay. But I think there is this like, we have to change him and make him be friends, the most popular kid in school. And it's like, no, that's not who he is. That's not who I was, you know?
Or sometimes we just don't give them enough attention because they are on the quieter side. And there's a difference between being around people who are just louder and bigger. They're just bigger in so many ways. Their personalities are bigger. And there's a difference between being around that and being okay in the shade and not being okay in the shade. And we can make it okay. But they can be the most interesting people, coming back to the title of the episode. So this is yet another reason to partner with families, because they may be a little more outgoing or vocal when they're with their families. And if we say to families, without making it a bad thing, you know, without saying that, and if we go to families and we say, I would love to know more about your child. I would love to know more about your son or your daughter, or your children, so that I can talk about things that interest them. So what are some of the things you do at home? I have sometimes been surprised, especially for these children who are in the shade. And, you know, I've gone to the family and said, I would just love to know more. And, you know, your child is so sweet and so wonderful and not really forthcoming with information about your family or about what they do outside of our four walls. And I've learned amazing things. I've learned about children who take dance lessons and love to dance. I've learned about children who help their families with volunteer organization things. I've learned about children who have traveled to places I've never traveled. And, you know, so when you say to the family, your child's a little less forthcoming with information, what is some amazing thing you can tell me? You know, as an icebreaker, when you're teaching adults, sometimes the icebreaker is, tell me a fun fact about yourself. So my fun fact is always, my full name is actually Cindy. I'm not Cynthia. People always have this one thing about themselves that's sort of a fun fact. It would be nice if on our questionnaires to the families when children first enroll and or the beginning of the school year, also when we meet with them for parent-teacher conferences, if we always asked for one more fun fact about your child, please give me a fun fact that I can now go and discuss with your child. I'll never forget that family who told me this whole thing. They volunteered, I think at like the food bank, and maybe they did the Big Brother, Big Sister program and a couple of other programs. And they told me how their children were very involved in this with them. And I thought that was such an awesome piece of information, right? About what makes this family and that child interesting. And just very casually one day after I learned this, I said to this child, I heard that you go to the food bank with mommy and daddy. And I got like a smile and a nod. And I said, I think that's such an awesome thing. Do you like going to the food bank? And I got another nod and a smile. And I said, what do you do there? And the child said, we bring the food for the people who can't get the food from the store. And I said, that's so great.
Yeah.
It isn't just the big personalities who have amazing things to say or have had amazing experiences. In our busy day-to-day lives, we forget. So we want to sit near them, be in their space, within us, within their proximity, not in their personal space, but within in a close proximity, so that they know we see them and talk to them about what they're doing. We want to reach out to the family for some fun facts that we can discuss with them. We want to make sure that the attention we pay to children is not only on the bigger personalities, equally on these children. And by the way, if you know that you have a child in a class who tends to be overshadowed by the accomplishments of a sibling, I think you have to just work twice as hard with that child to make sure that child feels as accomplished, as important, as valued, and as noticed as their siblings. We can't go to families and say things like, you're not paying equal attention to your children, because that's judgment. And that's just my perception. I honestly don't know what's happening at home.
You don't know what goes on behind closed doors there. Yeah.
Right. I have no idea. But if I get the sense in my school community or through talking to people, which we sometimes get a sense that the other children are just rock stars in some way, and this one feels a little like not. Remember to build this child up.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You want to make them feel seen.
Yep. You are seen. You are heard. Yeah. You are valued. We care about you. And by the way, we're not going to force you to be someone you're not. We're not going to pull you out of your comfort zone and plop you in another box to behave differently. We're not going to make you feel less than or make you feel bad in any way for the personality traits that you were born with. And the fact that you are maybe a more docile person, a calmer person, a quieter person. It takes all different types of people for the world to go round. So we're not going to make you feel bad about it. We're just going to let you know we're here if you want it. And we know your value.
Yeah.
Right? Alison, I would love, before we end this episode, for you to read the quote again, because I do think not only in regard to children, but it's true for so many things in people. Go ahead. Can you read that quote again?
Yeah. The most interesting plants grow in the shade.
I just want to kind of leave it there.
Yeah.
And let everybody ponder that. Preschool peeps, after you ponder that, check out Patreon, check out Facebook, check out our website, go and see all the things that we put out in the world and decide what it is you need and what you can benefit from. You can also contact us through our website if you have ideas, if you've had similar experiences, if you're thinking don't have an episode on this topic and I would love one.
Yeah.
Please go to our website and go to the contact form, send us a contact form with your episode ideas. We would love to do it. We've been doing this podcast for so long that we sometimes are amazed that we still have ideas, but apparently we do.
Yeah.
Right? Apparently 224 episodes later, we still do, because young children are just fodder for talk and learning and learning about them. But we also want to know what you want to know. So please go do that if you're feeling like, yeah, I've looked through your episodes and I don't see this. If, by the way, we've done it and we feel like, yeah, no, we've really pretty much covered that, we will let you know which episode it is. We will respond to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Or sometimes we like not redo an episode, but we do
Nah.
a topic with a different spin. So if you're interested in that topic, we might be able to find a different spin for you. So that's good too.
Or we bring it back up because
we bring it back up
this
because,
many,
you know, we may have recorded it before COVID and now things have changed. So.
and yes, and this very many episodes later, something has changed about it, or we find it, people are not still, they're either still doing it or not still doing it, and it needs to be reiterated.
Yes.
So yes, we do need to go back, Alison, and figure out what things we said before COVID that no longer apply to life.
No, yeah, that was my goal during Christmas break, was to listen to all the old episodes and do that. But then you know what happened during Christmas break? I did nothing. Nothing. I didn't.
All right, you're forgiven. You can do nothing.
Yeah, maybe spring break I'll try doing that. Yeah.
So everybody just, stay tuned. We may be coming on with episodes that are like, okay, this was great back then, but life has changed. And if you can think of any of those topics, please contact us. If you're thinking, yeah, I remember when you said this, but life has changed and I don't know how to handle it now.
Right.
Feel free to contact us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, preschool peeps.
Yay,
Keep listening and telling people, and we will catch you next time.